The silent planet. The massive space station called Nexus Prime floated in the darkness between stars. Inside its gleaming halls, representatives from 847 different worlds gathered for the most important meeting of the year. The Galactic Council was in session, and today they would discuss the strange case of a small blue planet called Earth. Ambassador Krell stood at the center of the great chamber. His tall, thin body cast long shadows under the bright lights. The Vorthon Empire had sent their best diplomat to handle this unusual situation. Around him, creatures of every shape and size listened carefully. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with their own inner light. Fellow council members, Krell began, his voice carrying easily through the vast space. We gathered today to discuss the planet Earth. This world achieved basic spaceflight 200 years ago, yet they refuse to answer our calls. They ignore our messages and hide from our ships. It is most unusual behavior. A low rumble of agreement filled the chamber. The Kalari representative, a being with blue skin and 6 arms, raised one hand to speak. Perhaps they are afraid of us. Many primitive species fear what they do not understand. Fear is the most likely explanation, said the Nexian delegate, whose crystal body sparkled as she spoke. Their technology is so basic compared to ours. They probably think we want to destroy them. Laughter echoed through the chamber. The idea that anyone would fear the peaceful Galactic Council seemed funny to most members. They had brought peace and order to thousands of worlds. Earth should be grateful for their attention. Far from Nexus Prime, hidden in the shadow of a dead moon, Captain Marcus Webb listened to every word. His ship, the Phantom Wind, was completely invisible to Council sensors. Earth had built this vessel using technology that the Council did not know existed. For 50 years, ships like this one had watched and waited in silence. Are you getting all of this, Doctor? Marcus asked. Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her screens. Data flowed across her displays faster than most beings could read. But Elena was not most beings. She had been studying alien languages and cultures for 30 years. Every word, Captain. They really think we are just scared children hiding in our rooms. The conversation on Nexus Prime continued. Ambassador Krell pulled up images of Earth on the main display. The blue and green planet looked peaceful and beautiful, but to the council members it looked primitive and weak. Look at their cities, Krell said, pointing to the images. No proper space elevators. No orbital rings. They still use chemical rockets for most of their space travel. It is almost sad to see such a backward world. The Zephyrian ambassador, whose body looked like living smoke, drifted forward. Perhaps we should help them whether they want it or not. Many species need guidance to join civilized society. Their silence might mean they do not know how to ask for help. More laughter filled the chamber. The council members nodded in agreement. They had helped many primitive worlds before. Most species were grateful for council wisdom and technology. Earth would surely be the same once they understood how much the council could offer. On the Phantom Wind, Marcus felt his jaw tighten. He had served in Earth's Defense Corps for 25 years. He had seen what the Council called help on other worlds. Species that joined the Council often found themselves stripped of their resources and culture. The Council talked about peace, but they practiced a gentle form of slavery. Captain, Elena said quietly, you should hear this next part. On the main display, Krell was now showing images of human space stations and ships. To most viewers, they looked crude and simple. Metal boxes held together with obvious welds, rocket engines that belched fire and smoke, communications arrays that looked like they belonged in a museum. Their technology is at least 500 years behind our standards, Krell explained. They cannot even travel faster than light without using dangerous fuel that damages their engines. Most of their ships can barely reach their own moon safely. A chorus of sympathetic sounds filled the chamber. The council members felt sorry for these poor humans struggling with such limited technology. They had no idea that every piece of equipment they were looking at was deliberately designed to appear primitive. Earth's real ships could travel between stars in minutes, not months. Their weapons could punch holes through council shields as if they were made of paper. But the council did not know this. They saw only what Earth wanted them to see. Admiral James Harrison sat in his office deep under the Rocky Mountains. Around him, screens showed the real state of Earth's military. Thousands of advanced ships moved through space on missions the Council could not detect. Space stations that looked like simple mining platforms were actually fortress worlds capable of defending entire solar systems. How long until they make their move? He asked his aide, Colonel Rebecca Stone. Intelligence suggests within the next few days, sir. The Council has been planning what they call a mercy mission to Earth. They want to force us to join their organization. Harrison nodded grimly. For 50 years, Earth had followed a simple strategy. Watch everything. Learn everything. Prepare for everything. The Council thought Earth was afraid to make contact. In truth, Earth was gathering intelligence and building weapons that the Council could not imagine. Back on Nexus Prime, the meeting was reaching its conclusion. Ambassador Krell raised his hands for attention. Fellow Council members, I propose we take action. Earth has had enough time to overcome their fear and join our galactic community. If they will not ask for help, we must offer it anyway. The vote was unanimous. Every species in the Council agreed that Earth needed their guidance. They would send a fleet to the Sol system and make contact whether the humans wanted it or not. It was for their own good, after all. As the Council members filed out of the chamber, none of them noticed the small device attached to the station's main computer. It looked like a normal maintenance tool, but it had been recording everything for the past 10 years. Every Council meeting, every private conversation, every secret plan had been transmitted back to Earth. Captain Marcus powered up the Phantom Wind's engines. His mission was complete. He had watched the Council make their decision, and now he had to warn Earth. The time for hiding was almost over. As his ship slipped away into the darkness, Marcus thought about what was coming. The Galactic Council had 847 member worlds. They had fleets that could destroy planets. They had weapons that could shatter moons. By every measure that mattered to them, they were the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had no idea that they were about to face an enemy that had spent 50 years studying their every weakness. Earth had stayed silent not from fear but from wisdom. Soon the galaxy would learn the difference between the two. The Council's mercy mission was about to become the biggest mistake in galactic history. At the condescending invitation fleet, Admiral Thiss stood on the bridge of the massive warship called Starbreaker. Around him, dozens of Council vessels prepared for the journey to Earth. The fleet looked impressive with ships from 12 different worlds flying in perfect formation. Each vessel represented the finest technology their species could build. Set course for the Sol system, Thiss commanded. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had never lost a battle. The Nexian admiral had served the Council for over a century, bringing peace to 43 different worlds. Earth would be number 44. As the fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, automated systems began broadcasting messages toward Earth. The transmissions were designed to sound friendly and welcoming, but the words carried a clear threat underneath. People of Earth, Ambassador Krell's voice echoed through space. The Galactic Council extends an offer of membership to your species. We understand that you may be afraid of the unknown, but fear must not hold back progress. It is time for humanity to join the civilized galaxy. The message continued for several minutes, explaining the wonderful benefits of Council membership: better technology, access to interstellar trade, protection from hostile species. Of course, Earth would need to follow certain rules. They would have to disarm their military, accept Council oversight of their government, and provide raw materials for more advanced civilizations. Think of it as a learning experience, Krell's message concluded. Every species must crawl before they can walk. Earth has been crawling for far too long. On Earth, President Victoria Cross listened to the transmission with growing anger. She sat in a room that officially did not exist, surrounded by people whose names appeared on no public records. The Shadow Cabinet had been created 50 years ago to prepare for this exact moment. They really think we are children playing with toys, she said quietly. Around the table, Earth's most powerful leaders shared her frustration. General Robert Kane leaned forward. His weathered face showed the scars of battles fought in places that did not appear on any map. Ma'am, our deep space monitors show they are bringing a force of 200 ships. They expect us to surrender without a fight. And what do our real capabilities look like? President Cross asked. Dr. Elena Vasquez activated a holographic display that showed the true state of Earth's defenses. Invisible ships moved through the solar system like deadly ghosts. Weapon platforms disguised as asteroids waited in the darkness. Even the moon itself had been hollowed out and turned into a fortress that could destroy entire fleets. We have been preparing for this day for 50 years, she explained. Every Council transmission has been recorded and analyzed. We know their battle tactics, their weapon capabilities, and their psychological weaknesses. Most importantly, they have no idea what we are really capable of. The display showed images of council species from their own security cameras. Forthans who believed their technology made them invincible. Kalari who thought military strength came from the size of your fleet. Nexians who assumed crystal beings were naturally superior to carbon-based life forms. They have grown soft, General Kane observed. The Council has not fought a real war in 300 years. They expect every species to surrender once they see the size of their fleets. They have no experience with asymmetric warfare. President Cross nodded. Earth had studied every war in galactic history. The Council always won the same way. They showed up with overwhelming force, demanded surrender, and then claimed they were bringing peace. Species that resisted were labeled as dangerous and destroyed, but Earth would not follow that pattern. Commander Lisa Torres received her orders while floating in the pilot seat of her fighter. The ship around her looked like a standard Earth interceptor, but appearances were deceiving. Hidden beneath the simple metal hull was technology that would make Council scientists weep with envy. Phoenix 1, you are cleared for deep space reconnaissance, the control tower announced. Remember, maintain the illusion. You are just another human pilot struggling with primitive equipment. Lisa smiled as she powered up engines that could accelerate her ship to impossible speeds. Copy that, Control. One confused human pilot coming up. Her ship launched from a hidden base on the far side of the moon. To Council sensors, it would look like a crude chemical rocket barely capable of reaching orbit. They would never suspect that it could travel between star systems faster than their own fastest ships. As she flew toward the edge of the solar system, Lisa thought about the years of preparation that had led to this moment. Earth's military had trained for every possible scenario. They had built weapons that could defeat any Council defense. Most importantly, they had learned to think like predators instead of prey. The Council fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. Admiral Theiss expected to find a primitive civilization cowering around their home planet. Instead, his sensors showed what appeared to be an empty system. A few simple mining stations orbited various planets, but nothing that looked like a serious military presence. Begin the approach to Earth, he commanded. Broadcast the surrender terms on all frequencies. Ambassador Krell's new message was even more insulting than the first. Humans of Earth, you have one day to respond to our generous offer. Do not let pride prevent you from accepting the wisdom of your betters. The Council has lifted dozens of species from primitive ignorance. We can do the same for you. The transmission included images of other worlds that had joined the Council. Beautiful cities, advanced technology, peaceful societies. What it did not show were the species that had been stripped of their culture and identity. The Council's definition of peace meant conformity. On Earth, President Cross made the decision that would change galactic history. Send the activation codes to all deep space assets, she ordered. It is time to show the Council what Earth has really been doing for the past 50 years. Throughout the solar system, objects that had appeared to be simple asteroids began to change. Mining stations revealed hidden weapon arrays. Communication satellites dropped their disguises to show advanced sensor equipment. Even the space debris floating around Earth's orbit was not what it seemed. Commander Torres watched the Council fleet from a distance. Her ship's sensors could penetrate their shields and analyze their weapons without being detected. What she saw confirmed everything Earth's intelligence services had predicted. Control, this is Phoenix 1, she reported. The Council fleet is exactly what we expected. Standard formation, predictable tactics, and they have no idea we are watching them. Copy that, Phoenix 1. How long until they reach Earth orbit? 6 hours at their current speed. They are taking their time because they want to look impressive. Back on the Starbreaker, Admiral Theiss reviewed the tactical display with satisfaction. Earth had not responded to their messages, which was exactly what he had expected from a frightened primitive species. Soon they would be close enough to demonstrate Council superiority. Admiral, his tactical officer announced, we are detecting some unusual energy readings from various points in the system. What kind of readings? Unknown, sir. The signatures do not match any technology in our databases. Theiss dismissed the report with a wave of his hand. Probably some kind of industrial equipment. Primitive species often use inefficient energy sources. He had no idea that he was looking at the activation signatures of the most advanced military technology in the galaxy. Earth had spent 5 decades building weapons that the Council could not even imagine. Now those weapons were coming online, the trap was set. All that remained was for the Council to walk into it. The sleeping giant stirs. The Council fleet moved through Earth's solar system like a parade of conquerors. Admiral Thys had arranged his ships in a formation designed to impress and intimidate. The largest vessels flew in the center, while smaller escort ships spread out in perfect geometric patterns. Every species in the fleet wanted to show off their most advanced technology. "Begin final approach to Earth orbit," Thys commanded from the bridge of the Starbreaker. Through the main view screen, he could see the blue and green planet growing larger. It looked so peaceful and defenseless. "Broadcast the final warning." Ambassador Krell's voice echoed through space one more time. "People of Earth, this is your last chance to accept our generous offer of Council membership. We have come in peace, bringing the gifts of advanced civilization. Do not force us to demonstrate why resistance is futile." The message was full of arrogant confidence. The Council had never met a species that could resist their advanced fleets. Earth would surely surrender once they saw the overwhelming force gathered above their world. But Earth remained silent. Captain Marcus Webb sat in the command center of the Phantom Wind, watching the Council fleet through sensors they could not detect. His ship hung motionless in space, completely invisible to their most advanced detection equipment. Around the solar system, dozens of similar vessels waited for the signal to reveal themselves. "All stations report ready, Captain," his communications officer announced. "We have been tracking every Council ship since they entered the system. Targeting solutions are locked and confirmed." Marcus nodded grimly. For 50 years, Earth had prepared for this moment. They had studied Council tactics, analyzed their technology, and built weapons specifically designed to defeat their defenses. The Council thought they were facing a primitive species armed with chemical rockets and nuclear weapons. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Earth, President Cross stood in the hidden command center buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Around her, holographic displays showed the real-time positions of every ship in the solar system, both Council vessels and the hidden Earth fleet that surrounded them. "Dr. Vasquez, what is the status of our deep space assets?" she asked. "All stealth platforms are in position, Madam President," Elena replied, her fingers dancing across control panels. "The Council fleet is exactly where our computer models predicted they would be. They are following standard intimidation protocols perfectly." General Kane studied the tactical display with the eye of a veteran warrior. "They have positioned themselves to look impressive, not to fight effectively. Classic Council doctrine. They expect surrender, not battle. Then let us show them what happens when their expectations are wrong," President Cross said quietly. "Send the activation signal to all units. It is time for Earth to speak." Throughout the solar system, objects that had looked like harmless space debris began to change. What the Council had dismissed as primitive mining equipment revealed its true nature. Asteroids split open to expose massive weapon arrays. Communication satellites unfolded into sensor platforms more advanced than anything in Council space. The asteroid belt itself came alive as hundreds of hidden facilities powered up their primary systems. For decades, Earth had been turning every piece of rock larger than a house into a potential weapons platform. The Council had scanned the belt and seen only worthless debris. They had missed the greatest fortification in human history. On the Starbreaker, Admiral Thys watched his sensor displays with growing confusion. "What am I looking at?" he demanded. His tactical officer stared at readings that should have been impossible. "Sir, we are detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. The pattern suggests some kind of advanced military technology, but the humans do not possess such capabilities." "Check your equipment," Thys ordered. "There must be a malfunction." But the readings were accurate. All around the Council fleet, hidden ships were dropping their camouflage. Vessels that moved with impossible speed began to appear on sensors, only to vanish again when the Council tried to target them. The humans had technology that violated everything the Council thought they knew about physics. Captain Webb finally broke Earth's 50-year silence. His transmission reached every Council ship simultaneously, cutting through their communications like a knife through paper. "Council forces, this is Captain Webb of the Earth Defense Corps. You were warned to approach our world with respect. You chose mockery and threats instead. That was a mistake." Admiral Thys felt a chill run through his crystalline body. The human voice was calm and controlled, but it carried an undertone of barely restrained violence. This was not the frightened plea he had expected from a primitive species. "I am Admiral Thys of the Galactic Council," he replied, trying to project authority. You are completely outgunned and outnumbered. Surrender now and accept council guidance or face the consequences of your defiance. Webb's response was a single word: no. Suddenly, council sensors detected something that should have been impossible. A human ship had appeared directly above the Starbreaker, less than a kilometer from the flagship's bridge. It had somehow bypassed every shield, every sensor net, every early warning system that protected the fleet. Commander Lisa Torres sat in the pilot seat of her fighter, looking down at the Council flagship through her canopy. Her ship's stealth systems were so advanced that she could have landed in their hangar bay without being detected, but that would have been showing off. "Starbreaker, this is Commander Torres," she transmitted. "I am currently hovering directly above your bridge. Your shields did not stop me. Your sensors did not see me. I could have destroyed your ship at any time in the past 6 hours." Admiral Thiss looked up through his bridge windows and saw the impossible. A human ship floated motionless above him, its weapon systems clearly visible. Every instinct told him to order his fleet to fire, but something held him back. If this ship could appear without warning, what other surprises did the humans have waiting? "How?" he whispered. Dr. Vasquez answered from Earth's command center, her voice broadcasting to the entire Council fleet. "We have been listening to your conversations for 50 years, Admiral. Every boast about your superior technology, every joke about human primitiveness, every plan to strip our world of its resources." The transmission included audio recordings of council meetings. Their own words, spoken in private, played back for the entire fleet to hear. Arrogant laughter at human expense. Casual discussions about enslaving Earth's population. Plans to turn humanity into a slave species mining raw materials for council worlds. "You judged us by your own standards," Webb's voice continued. "You assumed that because our public technology looked primitive, we were helpless. You never considered that we might be hiding our true capabilities." Around the Council fleet, more human ships began to appear. Not dozens, but hundreds. Vessels that moved like living shadows, appearing and disappearing faster than Council weapons could track. Each ship was smaller than the massive Council dreadnoughts, but their movement patterns suggested technology that was centuries beyond anything the Council possessed. General Kane's voice joined the transmission from Earth. "For 5 decades, we have studied your military doctrine, your tactical preferences, and your technological limitations. We know exactly how to defeat every ship in your fleet." Ambassador Krell, still trying to maintain Council authority, broadcast his own message. "This is impossible. No primitive species could develop such advanced technology. You must have stolen it from a more advanced civilization." The response came from President Cross herself, her words carrying the full authority of Earth's government. "We developed this technology ourselves, Ambassador. While you were busy congratulating each other on your superiority, we were working. While you were dividing the galaxy among yourselves, we were preparing. While you were planning to enslave us, we were building the tools of your defeat." Admiral Thiss found himself in a situation that no Council commander had faced in 3 centuries. His fleet was surrounded by an enemy that possessed superior technology and had obviously planned this encounter down to the smallest detail. Every tactical advantage that the Council normally enjoyed had been neutralized or turned against them. But he was still a Council admiral, and surrender was not in his vocabulary. "All ships, open fire," he commanded. "Show these primitives the power of Council technology." The massive fleet began to discharge their weapons at the dancing human ships. Beams of energy that could melt planets reached out toward their targets. Missiles that could destroy moons launched from every Council vessel. None of them hit anything. The human ships moved like ghosts, slipping between energy beams and dancing around missile volleys with impossible grace. Their own weapons fired in return, precise strikes that disabled Council ships without destroying them. Engine failures, shield collapses, weapon malfunctions. The humans were fighting with surgical precision, neutralizing threats rather than creating casualties. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking, "we cannot hit them. They are moving faster than our targeting systems can track." Admiral Thiss watched his mighty fleet being systematically dismantled by an enemy he had dismissed as primitive savages. This was not how Council victories were supposing. D to woe. The tables turned Commander Lisa Torres guided her fighter through the Council fleet like a dancer, moving through frozen statues. Her ship's advanced engines made turns that should have torn apart any normal vessel, But Earth's technology had solved problems that Council scientists had never even considered. Around her, dozens of other human fighters performed the same impossible maneuvers. Phoenix 1 to Fleet Command, she reported calmly. Council vessels are trying to track us with standard targeting systems. Their computers cannot process our movement patterns. Captain Webb's voice came back immediately. Copy that, Phoenix 1. Continue the demonstration. Make sure they understand what they are facing. On the bridge of the Starbreaker, Admiral Theiss watched his tactical displays with growing horror. His weapons officers were firing at targets that simply were not there when the energy beams arrived. The human ships moved like they knew where each shot would go before it was fired. How are they doing this? He demanded. His tactical officer was sweating despite the cool bridge temperature. Sir, our battle computers show that they are using some kind of predictive system. They are not reacting to our shots. They are anticipating them. What the officer did not know was that Earth had been recording Council battles for 50 years. Every tactical pattern, every weapon timing sequence, every command protocol had been analyzed and fed into combat computers that could predict Council actions with perfect accuracy. Dr. Elena Vasquez monitored the battle from Earth's command center, watching as decades of intelligence gathering paid off in real time. Their standard attack patterns are exactly as we predicted, she reported to President Cross. Council doctrine has not changed in 3 centuries. They have become completely predictable. The holographic displays showed something that had never happened in galactic history. A Council fleet was being systematically defeated by ships they outnumbered 10 to 1. But numbers meant nothing when the enemy knew your every move before you made it. General Kane studied the tactical situation with professional appreciation. Ma'am, we have disabled 60% of their fleet without destroying a single vessel. Our weapons are targeting their engines and power systems with perfect precision. President Cross nodded approvingly. Earth's strategy was not just to win this battle, but to send a message to the entire galaxy. They could have destroyed the Council fleet in minutes, but that would have made them look like aggressors. Instead, they were demonstrating technological superiority combined with restraint. Continue the operation, she ordered. Let them see what we are capable of. But do not give them an excuse to call us monsters. Admiral Theiss activated the emergency communication system to contact the other Council fleets scattered throughout the galaxy. If Earth possessed this level of technology, every Council world might be in danger. But his transmission was blocked. Somehow the humans were jamming communications across the entire system, while leaving their own networks completely functional. The Council fleet was trapped and isolated, cut off from any hope of reinforcement. Sir, his communications officer reported, we cannot reach any of our other fleets. The humans are using some kind of selective jamming technology that we have never seen before. Captain Webb's ship appeared on the main view screen, close enough that individual windows were visible on its hull. The vessel looked sleek and dangerous, like a predator that had evolved for the specific purpose of hunting Council ships. Admiral Theiss, Webb's voice filled the bridge. I believe it is time for us to have a more direct conversation. You are going to transport over to my ship for a face-to-face meeting. I will not abandon my post, Theiss replied, trying to project confidence he no longer felt. You misunderstand, Webb said calmly. That was not a request. Suddenly, Admiral Theiss found himself standing in a completely different room. The transport technology had bypassed every shield and defense system on his flagship. He was now aboard a human vessel, surrounded by technology that looked impossibly advanced. Captain Webb stood waiting for him, flanked by 2 human officers in uniforms that Theiss did not recognize. The room around them was clean and efficient, but the weapon arrays visible through the windows made it clear that this was a warship designed for serious combat. Welcome aboard the Phantom Wind, Webb said politely. I apologize for the abrupt transport, but we need to discuss the situation without interference from your fleet. Theiss looked around the bridge in amazement. The technology he could see was at least 1,000 years ahead of anything in Council space. Holographic displays showed real-time data from across the galaxy. Computer systems processed information faster than organic minds could follow. This is impossible, he whispered. Your species achieved spaceflight only 2 centuries ago. You cannot have developed this level of technology so quickly. Dr. Vasquez's image appeared on one of the displays. Admiral, your assumption is that we started from zero when we achieved spaceflight. But humanity has always been good at learning from others. We have been listening to Council transmissions for 5 decades. Every technical discussion, every scientific breakthrough, every military innovation has been recorded and studied. She gestured, and the display showed images of human research facilities. We took your best ideas and improved them. We found the flaws in your designs and fixed them. Most importantly, we never stopped innovating while your council grew comfortable and complacent. Admiral Thiss stared at the evidence of Earth's true capabilities. Production facilities that could build ships faster than council yards. Research centers developing weapons that made council technology look primitive. A civilization that had been working in complete secrecy, while presenting a facade of helpless primitiveness. You have been spying on us for 50 years, he accused. Captain Webb nodded without shame. We have been protecting ourselves, Admiral. Every species that joins your council loses something essential. Their independence, their culture, their right to choose their own path. We studied what happened to other worlds, and we decided that Earth would not follow that pattern. The display changed to show images of former council worlds. Species that had once been proud and independent, now reduced to suppliers of raw materials and cheap labor. Civilizations that had been stripped of everything that made them unique in the name of council efficiency. The Corvin people used to be master shipbuilders, Dr. Vasquez explained. Now they mine metals for council factories. The Eldari were renowned scientists. Today they grow food for other species. Every world that joins your council becomes smaller, weaker, and less than they were before. Admiral Thiss could not deny the truth of what he was seeing. The council did impose its will on member species, but he had always believed it was for the greater good. Looking at the evidence through human eyes, he began to see how it might look like conquest instead of cooperation. What do you want from us? He asked. President Cross's image appeared alongside Dr. Vasquez. Her expression was serious but not hostile. We want you to leave our system and return to council space. We want you to report that Earth is not interested in joining your organization. Most importantly, we want you to understand that any future threats against our world will be met with appropriate responses. You are making a mistake, Thiss said desperately. The council has over 800 member worlds. You cannot fight all of us. General Kane's voice came from the ship's speakers. Admiral, we are not fighting 800 worlds. We are fighting a government that those worlds never chose and cannot escape from. Many council species would welcome the chance to regain their independence if they knew it was possible. The implications of that statement hit Thiss like a physical blow. If Earth could defeat council fleets, other species might decide that rebellion was possible. The carefully maintained order that had kept the galaxy peaceful for centuries could collapse overnight. You would destroy galactic civilization, he whispered. We would replace tyranny with freedom, Captain Webb replied. The choice is yours, Admiral. You can return to the council and report that Earth wishes to be left alone. Or you can continue this battle and discover just how advanced our technology really is. To emphasize the point, the view screen showed the current status of the council fleet. Nearly every ship was disabled, their crews unharmed but their vessels completely helpless. It had been accomplished in less than 2 hours by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive. Admiral Thiss realized that he was looking at the end of everything he had believed about council superiority. Earth had not just defeated his fleet. They had made it look easy. For the first time in 3 centuries, a council admiral was faced with an enemy he could not defeat. The price of arrogance. Admiral Thiss stood in the transport chamber of the human ship, knowing that his next decision would shape the future of the galaxy. Around him, technology that should not exist hummed with quiet efficiency. Through the viewports he could see his mighty fleet floating helpless in space, their weapons disabled and their engines dead. Captain Webb waited patiently for his response. The human officer showed no signs of triumph or gloating. If anything, he looked sad about the necessity of this demonstration. I need to consult with the council leadership, Thiss said finally. That will not be possible. Dr. Vasquez's voice came from the speakers. Admiral, while we have been talking, similar conversations have been taking place throughout council space. The main display activated, showing star maps that covered half the galaxy. Red indicators marked the locations of major council fleets, but each one was accompanied by symbols that Thiss did not want to understand. Earth ships are currently positioned near every major council installation, General Kane explained from his command center on Earth. Your home worlds, your fleet bases, your manufacturing centers. We have been everywhere, Admiral. We have been watching everything. The scope of the operation began to dawn on Thys. This was not just an attack on one fleet near Earth. This was a coordinated action across dozens of star systems. The humans had positioned forces throughout Council space without being detected. Impossible, he whispered. We would have seen your ships. Our sensors would have detected such a massive deployment. President Cross appeared on the display, her expression grave but determined. Admiral, you are thinking like a Council strategist. You assume that military operations require massive fleets and obvious preparations. Earth learned to think differently. The display changed to show images of human vessels. They were smaller than Council ships but far more advanced. Each one could operate independently for months without support. Their stealth systems made them effectively invisible to Council sensors. Most importantly, they had been moving into position for years without anyone noticing. We call it the silent deployment, Captain Webb explained. For the past decade, our ships have been taking positions throughout the galaxy. Not to attack, but to observe and prepare. We wanted to understand exactly what we were dealing with before we made any decisions. Admiral Thys felt the weight of centuries pressing down on him. The Galactic Council had ruled through superior technology and overwhelming force for so long that no one had imagined facing an enemy that could match them. But Earth had not just matched Council capabilities. They had surpassed them completely. What are your terms? He asked quietly. Simple, President Cross replied. The Council will withdraw all forces from Earth space immediately. You will broadcast a message throughout the galaxy, stating that Earth has declined Council membership and wishes to be left alone. Most importantly, you will never again threaten any species with forced integration. The demands were reasonable, but Thys knew they would destroy everything the Council had built. If we agree to these terms, other species will think they can defy us as well. The Galactic Order will collapse. The Galactic Order is built on fear and oppression, Dr. Vasquez said firmly. It deserves to collapse. As if to prove her point, the display began showing transmissions from throughout Council space. Species that had been silent for centuries were suddenly broadcasting messages of support for Earth. The Corvan shipbuilders who had been reduced to mining slaves. The Aldari scientists forced to grow food instead of pursuing research. Dozens of civilizations that had lost their independence when they joined the Council. They have been waiting for someone to show them that resistance was possible, General Kane observed. Your demonstration of force backfired, Admiral. Instead of frightening them into submission, you gave them hope. Admiral Thys watched his life's work crumbling in real time. The Council system that had brought peace to the galaxy for 3 centuries was suddenly revealed as a house of cards, held together only by the illusion of invincibility. You are destroying everything, he said bitterly. We are giving every species the same choice that Earth demanded, Captain Webb replied. The right to choose their own path without interference from others. The display showed new intelligence that made Thys' situation even worse. Council fleets throughout the galaxy were reporting the same problems. Human ships appearing from nowhere, disabling their vessels with surgical precision, then offering the same terms that Earth was presenting here. How many ships do you have? Thys asked in amazement. Enough, was Webb's only answer. President Cross leaned forward on the display. Admiral, you have a choice to make. You can accept our terms and return to Council space with a message of mutual respect, or you can try to continue this fight and discover what happens when Earth stops being patient. To emphasize her point, the view screen showed new readings from Earth's hidden defenses. The asteroid belt was revealing weapon platforms that could destroy entire fleets. The moon itself was opening to show installations that dwarfed anything in Council space. Earth had not just built a military. They had built a fortress system that could defend against any conceivable attack. If you choose to fight, General Kane's voice added, understand that Earth will not limit itself to defensive actions. We have identified every Council world, every fleet base, and every critical installation in your territory. We can reach all of them. The threat was delivered calmly, but Thys understood the implications. Earth possessed the technology to strike anywhere in the galaxy without warning. The Council's scattered territories would be impossible to defend against such an enemy. Ambassador Krell's voice suddenly crackled through the communication system. The diplomat had been monitoring the situation from his ship, and his reaction was predictably arrogant. This is all an elaborate bluff, he declared. No primitive species could possess such advanced technology. They must be using some kind of illusion or trick. Captain Webb sighed. Dr. Vasquez, please show the ambassador what Earth considers a minor demonstration. On the view screen, one of the disabled Council ships suddenly vanished. Not destroyed, but literally teleported to a position 3 light-years away from the battle. Long-range sensors confirmed that the vessel was intact and undamaged, floating alone in empty space. We moved an entire starship instantaneously across interstellar distance, Dr. Vasquez explained calmly. The crew is unharmed, but they will need several months to return to Council space using their own engines. Consider it a preview of what we can do to your entire fleet if necessary. The demonstration had its intended effect. Ambassador Krell's protest died in his throat. Even the most arrogant Council diplomat could not deny evidence that clear. Admiral Thiss made his decision. I accept your terms. The Council fleet will withdraw from Earth space immediately. A wise choice, President Cross said approvingly. Captain Webb will escort you back to your flagship. You have 6 hours to prepare your fleet for departure. As Thiss prepared to transport back to the Starbreaker, he turned to face Captain Webb one final time. Why did you show restraint? You could have destroyed us all. Webb's expression was thoughtful. Because Earth wants to be known for more than just superior weapons, Admiral. We want to be remembered as the species that gave others the freedom to choose their own destiny. The transport activated and Admiral Thiss found himself back on his own bridge. Around him, his officers waited for orders that would reshape the galaxy. The mighty Council fleet that had arrived to conquer a primitive world was now retreating in defeat. 6 months later, the Galactic Council was a shadow of its former self. Dozens of member species had declared independence, choosing to follow Earth's example rather than submit to continued domination. The Council still existed, but it was now one government among many rather than the sole power in the galaxy. Admiral Thiss sat in his quarters on Nexus Prime, reading reports from across Council space. Former member worlds were thriving under their newfound independence. Trade continued, but now it was conducted between equals rather than masters and servants. Through his viewport, he could see ships from a dozen different species docked at the station. Many of them bore the distinctive markings of Earth's new alliance, an organization based on voluntary cooperation rather than forced submission. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Silence did not always mean weakness. Sometimes it meant that someone was listening, learning, and preparing to change everything. Earth had stayed silent for 50 years, but when they finally spoke, their words had rewritten the rules that governed the stars themselves.